All right, everyone. We have a very special guest, our second guest of the day. I am joined by the chair of the board of Citius Pharmaceuticals, Leonard Mazure. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me here. I always enjoy being with you guys.
Awesome. I appreciate it. We try very hard to go out of our way and bring the listeners companies that we think are interesting, have some very neat things going on, and you guys absolutely fit that bill. And so for getting started, could you just give us a little bit of background on the company for anybody who may not be familiar?
Sure. So our company is a pharmaceutical company, biopharmaceutical company that's at the development stage. In other words, we're pre-revenue at this moment. We have some very unique drugs that are under study. What really separates us from just about everybody else is the fact that we're in a very late stage. We're in a late phase 3 with our lead asset, which is minolok, which is an antibiotic lock solution used in a treatment of catheter-related bloodstream infections. Additionally, something that all of you will not hear from just about anybody else here, and that is that we have our own money invested in the company. So we've invested a total of $26.5 million. That's that's myself and Myron Halubiak, the CEO of the company, and we have for good reason that we did that. We think that the assets that we have are assets that will ultimately be cleared by the FDA, and also additionally, most of the drugs that we have definitely address unmet medical needs, and our lead asset is unique. There will be no competition in the marketplace once it's approved by the FDA. We think that with our assets that we're going to really make a significant difference when it comes to the treatment of certain diseases and disorders.
Got it. So why did you guys invest so much of your money into the company?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, we're entrepreneurs. And, I don't have to tell you about entrepreneurs, but we probably are entrepreneurs with a difference. And that is that we're all in entrepreneurs. And I've founded several companies in the past, and I learned a long time ago that if you really want to be able to raise capital correctly, you better be prepared to go alongside with your investors, no matter what that means. So in the past, I'll give you an example. I've signed over my house. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I did that I'd bring papers home for my wife to sign. She goes, "What's that all about?" I said, well, it's something that you shouldn't really worry about. So I think that that's one aspect of it. The other part of it is that we have a lot of confidence in what the portfolio that we have in the companies, especially with minolok, which is our lead asset, something that we licensed from MD Anderson. The lead drug in that is minocycline. It's one that we know very, very well. We think that it's something that we're very confident that this will ultimately be approved by the Food and Drug Administration.
God, what like you say minolok, and I'm like, that's Japanese to me. What the heck is minolok?
All right, so let me tell you what that is. All right, so that is it's an antibiotic lock solution that's used in the treatment of catheter-related bloodstream infections. So what happens is mostly cancer patients have long-term catheters that are implanted into them. Those catheters are a lifeline. They support nutrients, they support chemotherapeutics, they support other active therapeutics. Since they're surgically implanted, they get threaded. Most people don't know this. They get threaded to the heart area, where there's enough of a portal there with the superior vena cava to accommodate all those aspects of medications that they need. So over time, what can happen is the catheter itself can get infected. When a catheter gets infected today, the only solution that's standard of care is to remove the catheter and replace it. When you remove the catheter and replace it, you have to go through 2 surgical procedures. It's a cost of somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000. It's very painful, uncomfortable. most physicians hate to do this. It's something that patients don't like, and what happens is that catheter has to be threaded back up into that area. So let's say initially when a catheter is placed, it's placed by your collarbone and it gets threaded to the heart. Now, when the catheter is infected, that catheter has to be physically, surgically removed, and now a new catheter gets implanted. Most of the time, the new catheter itself will be placed down by the groin area and gets routed all the way up through your body into the heart area again, and that's where all the mischief can begin. So, and there's about a 20% adverse event profile associated with removing and replacing a catheter. Now, what you have to consider here is that these patients are seriously ill to begin with, and if they're infected, they're even worse off. So this is a real serious problem. Catheter-related bloodstream infections also have a mortality rate that can range up to about 20-25% at times. So it's something that nobody really wants to deal with. The hospitals hate it. They don't get reimbursed if somebody comes down with that infection inside the hospital. So we have something here that will be life-saving, as well as it'll be unique. It'll be the first of its kind in the marketplace, and there's no competition here except remove and replace.
Yeah. Okay. And this question, can I read a couple questions from the chat? Are you cool with that or no?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Why not?
All right. It says, are any of the potential drugs being tested by humans currently, stage 1, 2, or 3, or something?
So, any other competitor drugs? No.
No. Any of your drugs being tested by humans right now?
Yes. So, minolok is in phase 3. We have a drug, a hemorrhoid drug, actually, that's going into phase 2B. That's humans. The other 2 drugs that we have are at the preclinical stage. That would be our mesenchymal stem cell drug, which is in preclinical. That's for ARDS associated with COVID-19, or just plain ARDS, as well as minolok, which is a wrap product to prevent infections associated with tissue expanders to get placed into women who have had breast cancer. Those last 2 are still at the preclinical stage.
Okay. And then how big is the market size for catheters?
Okay, so this market, so there are 7 million catheters that get inserted annually into patients. About 500,000 of those approximately are infected. So we believe that given our pricing paradigm that we have right now, which is preliminary at this point, but we believe that this market is in the United States is somewhere between $750 million to $1 billion in value. Outside the U.S., it's the same number. By the way, outside the U.S., this problem is much worse, much worse, because the standards in hospitals outside the U.S., including in European countries and elsewhere, it's not the same as what we have here.
Got it. And how does like a company like Citius Pharmaceuticals get more street coverage? Like I see H.C. Wainwright had buy ratings, in 2019-18, but like is a challenge of like getting these drugs approved? That's how the Wall Street ratings start to come about. Like, how does this happen? How do we get to the next step to get the word out?
Well, we're pursuing that. We do have coverage also from Dawson James covers us as well with a buy rating. So we have 2 firms right now that cover us, and we're working on getting additional coverage elsewhere. I think as we generate data, we'll have additional coverage in place. I think that's what the analysts, some of the analysts are waiting on at this point.
Got it. Yeah, no, totally. I mean that's the chicken or the egg, and your goal as a company is to execute, and money will follow. It doesn't have to be, like there are companies that go out and promote a big way, but you don't have to. And the ticker symbol, guys, is CTXR for those of you that are listening on Sirius Satellite. Then a couple questions. There's another drug, I believe, this Novacite, right? What is Novacite? I like the spelling, Novecite. How do you figure out names for these drugs, by the way?
Well, that one is we combined. That's Nova's new Citius. So basically, we have coming up with drug names is a real interesting proposition. It's I've and the CEO of the company, Martin Holubiak, we've named numerous drugs over the years, and every one of these is a little bit different. You try to find some commonality somewhere, and either in the chemicals that are being the active pharmaceutical ingredients that are being used to formulate the drugs, or the disease itself. There's different ways of doing it and combining those. So right now, Novocyte, though, is really the name of the subsidiary company that we created to bring this drug to the marketplace. This is cellular therapy. This is really brand new. This is 21st century approach to medicine that we think is going to be is going to really take the world by storm at someday. We're going to look back 50 years from now even and see how we practice medicine. We're going to be horrified. But now with cellular therapy coming on stream, there are a lot of advances are starting to take place. This is one of them. This is termed a mesenchymal stem cell drug. Mesenchymal stem cells are cells that are actually taken from, initially we get a single person who donates a fibroblast. That person's completely scrubbed. And from that, the cells get expanded. They get expanded several times. And once they're expanded to such a point where they can go into the manufacturing cycle, and we create what's known as a master cell bank. That master cell bank can produce cells in perpetuity. So you never have to go back to another donor. You don't have to go back to anybody. And you can even split it up and share it or send it to another manufacturing source and continue to produce the cells. These cells have a therapeutic effect. So right now, we're studying it in ARDS as it relates to COVID, but also ARDS itself, which stands for acute respiratory distress syndrome. This is what happens when you come down with COVID, or it occurs in about 250,000 people here in the United States on an annual basis. 50% will die simply because there's no therapy available. So we think we have something here that's very unique in the way it's produced and the way we source it. We think that we have something here that has a lot of superiority to other mesenchymal stem cells in the marketplace.
Okay, and what phase is that in? Where is that?
Right now, we're at the preclinical phase. We submitted a pre-IND package to the Food and Drug Administration. They came back to us, gave us a roadmap for what it is that we have to do. We have to satisfy some animal tests that we have to do initially in order to get it placed into man. We think somewhere in the first quarter of 2022, we should be able to initiate that trial for a phase 1 trial.
Okay, and this Novocyte, it can potentially play in the COVID arena as well?
Correct. This also will be studied in ARDS patients who have come down with the virus itself. So this will be a therapeutic. This is not a vaccine. This is meant to treat. So this is different from prevention, which is what a vaccine would do.
Okay. And guys, in the chat, I'm going to ask a few more of your questions, but I want to ask one more about the amount of money, Leonard, you guys invested of your own money into the company.
You're right.
When did you invest that money? How long ago?
We've invested it pretty much all along. So from the beginning to maybe about a little over a year ago, because we had such demand on the raises that we were doing that we were cutting out investors. So we finally said to ourselves, look, it's better off. I'll give you an example. The last raise that we did, we were oversubscribed 2-to-1, and we were oversubscribed in the previous raises. So we made a decision not to participate at this moment, but we're always ready to step in and put money into the company.
Okay, and guys, we're with the chairman of the board of Citius Pharmaceuticals, Leonard Mazure. And Leonard, when you guys invest in the company, does it show up in the SEC filings as an insider trade, insider buying?
It shows up. It's all listed in our proxy statements. You'll see an exact breakdown of the number of shares that we have. And I should say to you also is that this money went directly into the company. It was not for stock options. It was for direct investment into the company.
No, that's awesome. And I'm just looking at a couple of brokerages and they're not showing some of that. So so one of the I always look. You know who Jim Cramer is. I used to work with him, and I wrote the insider buyback column for him. And we always loved insider buying because when an insider's buying shares, they're buying it for pretty much one reason. They believe in the company. When an insider sells shares, there may be a variety of reasons why they're selling shares. You never know, divorce, taxes, whatever. But insider buying the company is one of my biggest bullish things, and I've used that for years. And I went to one of my platforms, and it didn't show these insider shares being bought. So I am going to look into that and see why it's not, because we provide that data to these brokerages, and we have it, they don't. And so this is a good little activity, and it'll help you guys because you want investors to know that you're buying your own shares. It's a very powerful bullish thing. Dr. Philip Frost did that for his company. Now the company is doing great. They kept doing it, and it's a bullish thing. Now the questions that you guys keep asking in the chat. All right, I'm going to get to them now. Okay, we're going to do a rapid fire on some chat questions. All right, that's what you guys want. Is the minolok a drug or a device?
Drug. It's been rated as a drug by the Food and Drug Administration.
All right. Minolok phase 3 DMC meeting update, please.
Yes, that was being held in the second quarter of this year. The DMC is going to evaluate our efficacy. It's an efficacy readout of the data. So you're under that procedure. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, we're blinded. We're not allowed to look at our clinical data, obviously. So you have an independent drug monitoring board that looks at the data and basically says to you, either you continue with the trial because you're hitting all your endpoints, or they could also say to you, your data is so powerful that you should stop the trial now and get ready to file. So basically, we're at that point right now. This will be the last readout done by a DMC before we move into the final phases of our drug approval process.
Got it. Okay. Then when will, and this must not be minolok, maybe it's somebody else, it says, when will phase 3 trial be completed? Is that the same thing we were just talking about?
More or less. So we basically, a lot of the things are dependent upon COVID and the number of patients that we enroll, but we are planning to initiate filing of our new drug application somewhere in the second half of this year. We have under the FDA gave us a fast track status, so we're allowed to submit a rolling NDA. So as we finish sections of that application, we're going to be submitting it. We're going to be submitting data, parts of our application later in the year.
So does the FDA, or do they give you an exact date? Like Tommy Versity, who is a fan of you guys, I think he may know you guys. He said, is there a date for the FDA review results? Do they give you that at this point?
Correct. They do that when you have completed your application. They give you something known as a PDUFA date. And all drug companies normally get 1 year for that PDUFA date. Because we have a special status known as QIDP, which is an advance in antibiotic treatment, our review time is cut to 6 months. It's cut in half. So the moment we've completed all of it, they'll have 6 months to review and get back to us. So that's a positive for all the shareholders in the company, for us.
Yeah, and Robert Neisler, I don't know if this is correct. He says your phase 2 at 100% effective rate with no negative issues. Is that correct? Or I mean,
that is correct. That was
okay.
The phase 2B trial. We submitted that to the Food and Drug Administration. That is correct.
Are you guys looking to raise any money anytime soon?
I don't think so. We've raised a substantial sum that I don't think we have nothing on the horizon that would indicate that we've got to do a raise.
Okay, got it. All right. And so that's and then the thing I did not follow up on, you said you're a guy that likes to go all in. Okay. I love guys like that. You also said that there's been multiple times where you mortgaged the house or did stuff like that. Is that like true story? Like when you were like, way younger, you like put loans on your house to do stuff? If so, can you share a little bit of like the days when you weren't so established and you did that?
I can tell you at one point I had to borrow, not only take out mortgages against my house, but I had to pledge every single asset that I owned at 25% interest. And it was not the organization the way you'd think, but it was a gentleman that had a lot of money to invest. I needed the money. I couldn't get it from a bank or anywhere. I needed it for the company. And I put, he owned everything I had. I would meet with him periodically and he would say to me, I own you. So ultimately, I paid him back.
So that was that a lot of stress for you and anxiety back then?
I was very confident that I would emerge from that process intact.
Got it. Okay. All right. Last question. Like the stock, Mr. Market, none of us control Mr. Market, right? And the market follows good companies, but you don't control it. When Amazon sold down from, $80 to $10 and, whatever, they just kept executing and now it's at, 3,000. Is the stock price, like, I don't know how you can answer the stock price being below 2. Would you be buyers? Like what? Like, is there anything you're going to do to get the stock price up, or just continue to execute? I don't know. I mean, I have a variations of this question. It's a question I don't normally ask, but you guys keep hitting me up. So
my answer to that is one day everybody's going to look back and say, I remember when that stock was trading at $1.70, and I should have. So that's my answer to that.
And you've been in this field for a while, so I mean, yeah. Okay. One funny thing. One of the guys, I think it was Steve Delaney, of course. This guy likes to rip on me, but this is maybe a compliment. He thinks that you could be Warren Buffett's brother. You guys kind of look alike. Warren Buffett has those old glasses. You have more updated glasses, but I could see it. The hair to the side. I don't know.
I take that as a real compliment. Thank you.
If we ever need a Warren Buffett stand-in, we know where to go to. We know where to go to. Last question.
Omaha. Okay.
Yeah, Omaha, exactly. Go to your McDonald's. Last question. What percentage of the company do insiders own? Do you know that offhand? I know.
I do. I would say it's close to 14% at this point, maybe 15, roughly right around there.
Okay. And is that where you want to be, or are you guys looking to get more?
Yeah, obviously, as we sold more shares, and we were cognizant of this, that we had to face dilution, but we knew that raising capital and having the company well capitalized was important. So, but we recognize what that means. But we think that we're building value here, and we did this so that all of us could have appropriate exits down the road.
Got it.
We're out here for our shareholders. Our shareholders and management are joined at the hip. We're in this together.
No, absolutely. And is there a big institutional holding of the company as well?
We have some institutional holdings, but we're working on getting that number up also. So our plan is to really go after institutions in the coming months.
Got it. And where are you based out of?
I always say we're based out of, we're off of exit 136 on the Garden State Parkway in beautiful Cranford, New Jersey.
All right. I got it. And you're wearing your suit today at work, getting things done.
Of course.
Do you wear a suit every day?
I wear a lot of times I don't wear a necktie, but I usually am dressed in a suit or a sports coat for sure. I'm still old fashioned that way.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the days that I'm dressed up, you feel more professional. I think necessarily, more productive. People who are remote, and we have a younger person named Aaron Bree who's on our team. Sometimes he's dressing and he wanted to interview a guy. You can't wear a hat and interview someone, And I think that the exercise of getting up, getting dressed, putting something nice on, even if you're at home. Like I know a guy who worked for the NASDAQ. This is what he does. He's a top guy at the NASDAQ. He was working from home during COVID. I don't know if he's back at the office, but every morning he'd get dressed like he's going to work. He'd get in his car. He'd drive around the neighborhood, come back, have his coffee like he went to the office and came into the room like, hey, this is like it is in the office. And, by producing good habits, people always want to play victim roles. But if you make good habits, good results eventually follow. That loan that guy gave you, he knew he knew it was money in the bank because he knew you had good habits. You can just tell by the way you look, your professionalism. It just, you have good habits, dress code and doing these things. People make fun of it, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing. I agree with you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And that's something we can broadcast to everybody that it's time for us to get back to where we used to do business.
Yeah, I agree, Leonard. I agree. In person, shaking hands, wearing clothes like you're wearing. It's how it's done. And all this other stuff. Oh, I can, I don't even, whatever.
Right.
But congrats on your company. Let us know when you have, let us know when you have something to announce or whatever. Like, let us know. We have large distribution to most of the online brokerages, to almost all of them. People used to just go to the Wall Street Journal with this stuff. They come to us and we get the word out. I mean, we're just like, we're the biggest financial news vendor in North America to the brokerage space. So that's our business. So thank you for coming on. I like the suit, like the tie, and I'm gonna try to up my dress code as well. So thank you. All right, I'll talk to you later.
I look forward to getting back with you soon. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right.
Bye bye.